Mic check.
Hi, Cheryl. Good
Hi, Richard.
afternoon. So you had a chance to see the council meeting, right, Monday night. Did you have any concerns from the presentation that the North Glengarry Town Council presented that night, i.e. the staff report, and they talked a bit about that?
I had a few.
Sure. I mean, they mentioned at one point how Maxville was expanding. They felt that they needed more energy requirements for that. Do you see how this potential project would be affiliated with that, or what were your concerns about that, I guess?
Well, first of all, I have 3 young grandchildren that live in the area, and my concerns for the future, that from what I've learned, is that approximately 4 hours of energy are stored in these units. That energy is bought at a very low price, the lowest they can buy, and it's sold at the highest price they can sell it. So if they do procure that energy locally, it's going to be very costly. The second point that I've learned with this 4 hours is that usually it's going to be in the grid to feed Ottawa. That's what we were told about another neighboring area. That's where this extra energy was planned to go to Ottawa. So either way, I can't see it. And the neighbors there, they had assumed whenever, as a battery storage, they almost thought it was like a generator. So when the power went out from hydro, that they would be able to suck into that battery storage. Well, no, the grid's down, the grid is down. Nobody's getting it. You're not getting it in, it's not going out. So that was my concern about the actual unit and how much it can store.
Mm-hmm. And you sort of touched on the idea that they'd be buying energy, so they'd be buying at off-peak hours and then selling it back to the grid at high demand, sort of on-peak hours?
They have to make money.
Yeah, so it
costs millions of dollars to build these, like millions of dollars to build these BESS units.
Right.
And they're here to make money.
Right. And so definitely there's a benefit for them, but what would be the benefit for the community at large then? I guess that's the
I see it, unfortunately, I see it as all the risk and no benefit to the local people that live in this community.
And did the council have anything in that report that allayed any of your concerns or views, or did it actually lead to more questions, I guess?
It led to more questions. You know, and the other thing is, I mean, I live in a township where our township agreed to not be willing hosts for BESS units or industrial wind turbines or solar panels or solar farms. And what I understand is Nation, which is a neighboring township, has also agreed to be non-willing hosts. North Glengarry is in the counties of North and South Glengarry, North and South Stormont, North and South Dundas. So North Dundas has said no. Apparently North Stormont has said no to no more expansion. They've already learned their lesson with industrial wind turbines. And I'm like, usually the counties do things as a unit, the 6 townships in the United Counties. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of concerned, why is North Glengarry the only one that is stepping out of this and is willing to be a host when their neighbors and their buddies, you know, they don't want anything to do with it? So that was a concern.
Yeah, you raise a good point there, because we're actually under the SDG official plan for the 3 United Counties. Mm-hmm. My understanding too is that each municipality is under that plan, so they don't specifically have their own plan necessarily. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is kind of interesting that your neighboring municipalities have opted against this. I think it kind of poses a question too. What would prompt them to think it would be a good idea in this municipality? Or do you have any light to shed on that?
Well, I don't want to make any assumptions. Usually something is done for return.
Sure. No, just in terms of what's been presented. Were you confident that there was some strategic plan that made sense, or that you know, there'd be any community benefits such as infrastructure, or was there anything outlined?
Nothing was discussed, but usually our experience with Nation Rise in North Stormont, where I used to live, yeah, there was monetary money was given back to the township to be used at their discretion. The other oh, jeepers, I've lost my train of thought.
Sure. Well, you saw Chief Roy.
Yes, I was going to discuss, yes.
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
In North Dundas, when the fire chief spoke there after the presentation for the public and after the presentation to the township, he told us, or he told the township, we were in attendance, he said if there was a fire, what they were told as North Dundas, the volunteer firemen, that they were to contact the counties in Cornwall, so SDG, who were in turn contact Ottawa Fire, who had a specific unit to come out to deal with these chemical toxic fires. So I don't know how many, like time frame, but I mean, they can't do anything anyway. One presentation, we were told they could burn 4 to 5 days, and then the next time the fellow turned around and said 12 to 24 hours. They can't put water on it. God forbid it's raining or a rainy day, there's any water, because the chemicals change to even more toxic chemicals with water.
Have you seen any other evidence of, or any other examples, I guess, of similar situations where these facilities have been installed and there's been some issues?
Well, get back on good old social media, there's all kinds of fires. There was one just in Montreal at the port, you know, and you can't put them out. They got to let them burn.
And that was
like around the world. Germany's had them. You can find it if you want to find out what's going on.
Talk about Germany for a minute. What did you discover there?
Well, I don't have all the facts, but the fire chief, like when they went there, there were issues with the firemen being injured, and I believe somebody opened the unit and blew them back, literally.
Isn't that the standard protocol when you're dealing with a fire, though?
Oh, I don't know. That's not my field of expertise. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I feel sorry, concerned for the local volunteer firefighters, because I don't think they're prepared. I don't think they're really trained to deal with this kind of thing. Like, why else would they tell us in our area that they contact Cornwall and then they contact Ottawa to bring in a special unit out of Ottawa for battery fires?
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up, because we were sort of told at the meeting.
We were told different stuff.
For sure, and they mentioned that they had proper training, that they were quite prepared to put the fire out. I think the fire chief mentioned many times over that it's a standard procedure that they would follow. So it's rather interesting that there's going to be a special unit that would have to be deployed. Ottawa's not that close, is it?
No. Now, that was November of 23.
Right.
We were told that. Maybe things have changed. Maybe not. You need to ask some of the local volunteer firemen. You know, get out there and ask your neighbors.
Did you look into any of the planning issues surrounding this?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay. How about public consultation? Do you feel that was adequately provided for the residents?
Sounds like it wasn't. Sound like it wasn't, which is an issue. I mean, in our area, we were just very, very lucky, literally, that we stumbled across the public consultation event.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, obviously they were prepared for over 100 and some people. Again, a Friday evening at 6 o'clock in a rural community in November. A lot of people still in the fields and milking and everything else. People not even able to get home from city jobs in time for a 6 o'clock meeting. And they had like a dozen donuts there and some coffee, and we just kept coming in and coming in and coming in, and they were just overwhelmed. It didn't go well for the proponent. Because the people were outraged. They were outraged at the way it was handled. Like, I'm sorry, but they always seem to come in underhanded. They've been working the area for more than a year or two, talking to farmers, looking for land, talking to real estate people. It's underhanded the way they do it. They don't seem to give upfront information. Like, it's to their benefit. They're going to make millions from it. And sorry, but yeah, they've been caught in lies in the presentations. We were lucky that night because we had 3 of our councillor members in attendance, and the proponent didn't know that. He didn't know them. And he got caught in a lie that evening, saying they had already spoke to the council. And the one councillor stood up, he said, no, you haven't. That presentation is, 10 days away or something. And then again, like I said, a group of us followed and went to the presentation at the council. And the information that was spoke at the council meeting was not necessarily the same information that they had told us at the public meeting. Again, we're just really fortunate that 3 of our council members were in attendance and picked up on it. So they heard it with their own ears, that things were less than legitimate. And even one of the younger councillors, and it was really neat, because he said, I find it really strange that we have to give you our permission, where we have to grant it, that we're willing hosts, then you go and you do the environmental studies. He says, isn't that backwards? Shouldn't you be doing your environmental studies before and bring that information to us as a council? And we said that with the industrial wind turbines. It's the same MO. They use actually, we realized they use some same engineering companies. It's one big happy family.
So, yeah, I think you're referring to the municipal support resolution, right? One thing that was kind of curious was that, well, put it this way, how long after their presentation to North Stormont Council, or is it North Dundas?
Well, for the BESS unit, we were in North Dundas.
Yeah, so North Dundas Council. So the proponents came, they had a public meeting or a delegation to council. So from that point, they would have issued a report to council, right? The staff would have issued a report. I'm just curious to see
the time frame.
Yeah, the time frame, and if you could walk it through for us. And how long was there any public consultation once that report was tabulated?
Well, the time that we coincidentally found out that there was going to be a public meeting, we had a week to 10 days to prepare to let people know in the community. Somebody saw it somewhere on social media, somebody else saw it briefly. And when they're on social media, they're kind of on and then they disappear. They're like, poof, they're gone within an hour. So they don't seem to stay on forever, like most of our stuff that I put on. And then, so we had that, let's say 10 days to let the people know in the area, hey, this is happening. So they came out in groves. And then the delegation, which was the proponent going to the council meeting, it was again, like it was for the next meeting. So again, it was like a 10 days, 2 weeks. They're small increments of time considering what they're doing. Now that evening, right away, the deputy mayor spoke right up. I'm not in favor, there's not enough information. They were concerned about fires. A lot of it was the fire safety, but there's noise. These things have to be cooled 24/7, so there's noise pollution, there's light pollution. They're not monitored, well, they're monitored 24/7, but where's the monitor? The monitor person could be in Toronto, could be Montreal, could be Texas. Industrial wind turbines, they're in Texas. Anyway, they're not local. The best thing you can get out of it for local jobs is you'll get some aggregate, you'll sell, some crushed stone rock as they're building it. Yeah, you get that, so that goes to the locals. Then you get to maintain the road, so you get snow removal. That's one contract. There's not a lot we learned that with industrial wind turbines. There's not a lot of local jobs, as they tell you, that are going to stay in the area. So the time, it moves pretty quick, but we already know that when they're at that point, like that's a box they have to check. They have to check that they did public consultation, regardless of if one person shows up, nobody, or 120. They have to check that they did it. The other thing is they've been in the area, working the area for probably years before you get to the point that they're even ready for public consultation. They've been looking for land.